Welcome to Just an Average Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome in to Just an Average Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Hayes, with my co-host, Matt Baker.
That's me.
You can find us at avgffpod.com. You can also find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, just about anywhere you can get a podcast. Go look us up, give us a follow, give us a subscribe. Tell your friends about us, your family, your enemies. Tell everybody. Championship week in the books. And,
sadly,
yeah.
It's all over. Well, almost all over. I got invited today to a postseason fantasy setup.
Any more openings for that?
He's getting everything together. He's supposed to email me tonight with all the details and the buy-in and the payouts and all that stuff.
Well,
it's gonna be full. It's gonna be full postseason, so that should be cool.
If it's something interesting, I'm definitely down.
Okay, I got you.
But yeah, so I walked away with 3 crowns, 3 championships, and 5 second place finishes, and a couple thirds. And I had a 4th one in the bag until Jahmyr Gibbs decided to take it to the house at the end of the game. And break a 30-yard run and also break my heart. But I did not win our home league. My son won it, but I still hold out hope of a stat correction, because for anybody that plays in IDP leagues, you know that stat corrections are far more prevalent in leagues where you have defensive players, because it's so hard during games to score everything right with tackles and whatnot.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, I had Myles Garrett. I went for the hero play because in our league, a pass rusher who gets a lot of sacks can get a lot of points. We stack.
Okay, let's be honest. Who gets sacks? It doesn't even have to be a lot. If they can get 2 sacks, they get a lot of points.
Yeah, well, it stacks. The points stack. You get like 4 points for the sack, 2 points for the hit on the quarterback, 1 point for the tackle, 1 point for
tackle for loss.
Yeah,
1 point.
If you can get a strip fumble in it, it'll really stack. You can have
37 points.
You can have a 14-point play if it turns into a really good one. But generally, most sacks are in the ballpark of 6 points if they stack right. And I am currently losing by just over 5. And at the beginning of the game, Myles Garrett got a sack, was credited with a sack, where the quarterback slipped and fell, and then him and another defender kind of got there at the same time. And I was like, sweet, Myles Garrett got a sack. And then when he got his second sack, I went and checked, and it only showed the 1, and I was like, oh, they must have taken that one from him. And he finished the game. He did good. He got me 25 points. Everything was looking great. But I'm hoping that when they do the stat corrections, if they give him that sack back, it could propel me to our home league championship, which will be fantastic.
To the victory.
And my oldest boy will not be happy. He said if that happens, he's going to go fight Myles Garrett, which he's going to lose if he does that.
I'm kind of rooting for it now.
He's gonna lose twice.
It's going to be, and one might be a really bad loss.
Yeah, getting beat down by Myles Garrett. That's going to be.
Oh no, getting beat by his dad in the final.
Getting destroyed by Myles Garrett. You better hope you don't have his helmet with him if you do decide to pick a fight with him.
Or any weapons or any. Yeah,
I mean, he is a weapon, but. But I came out good. I went and without giving numbers, I went and did all the math, and I came out ahead of my buy-ins monetarily. So I'm not going to go and buy a yacht or anything. But if your hobbies can make money, it's also very good. This might be the first year that I came out in the black with my fantasy spendings. So I'm probably still lifetime in the red, but so how did you end up with yours? Because I know you're in a few.
I got 1 championship and a 2nd place, and then like a bajillion 3rd places, 1 4th place. So it's I don't like I only really competed in 1 for the 3rd place, and that's just because I realized I was playing you, and I'm like, fuck this guy. And I threw in my best lineup, and it smashed.
Yeah, you destroyed me.
But outside of that, it was I got 1 championship. I think I paid $450, something like that this year.
That was your league.
Yeah, and that's the second year
that you've won your
consecutively.
league. That's a little.
It's also the every year I've been in the playoffs and I've made it to the semifinals every year, and I made it to the championship 3 of the 5 years we've been running it. So.
My team my team actually did good, but I had to play your lovely wife in the first round, and her team went nuclear.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I was talking with a guy in the league that I'm leaving, a dynasty league that I'm leaving. He said so much of, because the reason I'm leaving, had issues with the payouts. And we all pay in. It's like a $600 total pay in, and he pays out per week. And then
so you end up at the end of the season you pay in, like, was it a $50 league?
Yeah, it's $50,
and you make like $150 is the most you can make.
It's $200 for the win, and then there's like $100 per first place seasonal winner, and then $15 a week, and it's just too convoluted.
If you're going to have a ton of those payouts, you got to make it $100 league.
Yeah, well, that or it needs
that
to
way,
be
when you get paid out, you want to get paid out like $500.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Like if we could divvy it up a little differently to where you can make $500 or $600, but he's like, too many times it comes down to the championship and it's luck or injury and everything.
Yeah, 100%.
We're on a week to week basis. You're playing your team and you're doing good. You can put a week together and get a little bit of extra money. And honestly, like, the league's been going. I've only been in it for 2 years. The league had been going for 7 years, and he's won it 6 of the 7 years.
Yeah.
And like, not by a little.
Yeah.
Like, and I went and looked at trades, and his trades all the trades are good. Like, I looked at history.
Yeah.
But he's not making $1 million off of it. So he doesn't win all the weeks, but he does win the league, so.
That's something that's like that. I know that there's several leagues where people, you just have one person consistently dominate and they're always in the thing. And it's not that they're necessarily playing with bad fantasy players. It's just that they have a knack for it.
And they make good trades and they just work in their favor because so much of fantasy. I'm realizing this here is that you can know everything you need to know, and there's still going to be this nagging luck and weird. Like, how the hell did that happen? Who's that guy?
Yeah, you look at, like, Joe Mixon dominated all season, and then the playoffs happen, and he goes into witness protection.
It's realistically, that's kind of based on the entire team collectively. I mean, if you look at Houston in general for the season, Nico fell off even after he come back. C.J. Stroud fell off. Joe Mixon fell off.
Stroud kind of fell off the whole season.
Yeah, he was down, but I mean, there was times when he was at least a QB2, or you could play him as a QB2 or super flex. But then the last 6-8 weeks, you couldn't even put him in the lineup.
Well, here's the thing. I heard today, or there's an article by somebody on ESPN, and I haven't looked at the stats, but I think statistically, since Bryce Young has come back off the bench, when he got benched, he's been markedly better than C.J. Stroud.
Oh yeah, well,
and there's this thought now is like, what are the chances that 5 years from now we're looking back and going, Bryce Young was the pick. I mean, I still think C.J. Stroud has better physical tools. He's obviously a taller quarterback. I think he has a stronger arm, and I think that he's got better weapons currently around him right now than Bryce Young does. So I don't know that that's necessarily true, but it's still something interesting to think about based off of how Bryce Young has finished out the season and how Stroud has just been either mediocre or garbage all season.
It's been a bad season. It's seemingly in the beginning of the season everything looked well, like with Mixon on fire and Nico and then Takedale, but you start losing
Diggs,
you start losing people. I mean, they lost Diggs, went on IR. They lost Nico for 5 or 6 weeks, and Tank didn't really step up, and then they lost Takedale, and it's just they all fell apart. In general. So,
well, today we're just going to kind of run through some fantasy, players that won our championship weeks. We're obviously going to do fuck that guy. We're not going to really talk about if you're playing in week 18 championship. Good luck. I mean, you really should try to get that changed. You better hope you have players in games like the Lions in Minnesota because they're going to be playing their starters. I doubt seriously if you get any Chiefs players that are going to be useful to you. The Bills players, I don't think they're playing for anything, so I think they've clinched number 2.
Yeah, they have. I'm sure that they'll the first quarter.
Maybe the first quarter, just so
Allen and Cook, and you'll see a little bit of them out there. But you're going to see a lot of these second string. This is a good week for some of these big teams to kind of look and see what they got in their depth chart.
Right.
We saw a couple this last week.
And if you better hope you got Falcons and Tampa players because they're still playing for something. But even some of these lesser teams are going to be benching star players. You know, Garrett Wilson may not play this week.
Yeah. That's a pretty lesser team.
Yeah, yeah. And so, you know, it's just the last game of the season is just not a good week to do your championship. I don't care. You know, everybody who's an advocate for it is like, well, it just means you get to play more fantasy. It's like, yeah, but I don't want to be in a championship game in week 18 where I've had these guys who I've rode all season. I've been here, you know, with these dudes carrying me, and now because they were really good and their team was really good, I don't get to utilize them. And now I've got to dig into the waiver wire, or I got to pull off guys on my bench, and now we're running out, you know, what looks like bye-week freaking lineups, you know, and it's just...
I will say I found an article this morning I kind of read into that might help some people out if they are playing this week, just for shits and giggles. Mike Evans needs 5 catches and 85 yards for a $3 million bonus.
Right.
Geno Smith needs 186 yards for a $2 million bonus. He also earns another $2 million if they win and they get 10 wins.
Right.
They get to 10 wins. Cortland Sutton needs 82 receiving yards for a $500,000 bonus.
Yeah.
Tony Pollard needs 83 rushing yards for a $250,000 bonus.
And 2 touchdowns for another $250,000.
Yeah. Josh Sweat needs 2 sacks and for $1 million bonus if that means anybody of the defensive players. J.K. Dobbins, 58 yards, he gets another $150K. Baker Mayfield, if he finishes in the top 10 per yards per attempt, he gets an additional $50,000 bonus. He's currently in 7th.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he could lose that if he doesn't play and get that up. MVS needs a touchdown for $250,000. Zach Ertz needs 2 touchdowns for $250,000, 9 catches for another $250,000, and another 90 receiving yards for another $250,000. And then Zadarius Smith, you know, needs 2 sacks for $250,000. So these are some players on some teams that some of these teams are still like in it and in the mix. Some of them aren't as much, but they're players that, you know, they're still going to try to give them a shot to get out there and get their bonuses and all. So, I mean, DFS, it might be kind of a smart play on some of these if they're cheaper. They're all bigger names, of course, but it's still, you know, you got a good shot and opportunity that they're going to try to get their money. So,
right.
That's what it's all about. You know,
yeah, I mean, that's definitely something to consider. You know, these guys definitely want to get fat stacks. In some of these games where it means something, though, where like if they can make the playoffs or not, like if you think about Cortland Sutton's game, I think Cortland Sutton would rather not get his bonus and make the playoffs as opposed to they forcing the ball to him and lose the game. So you got to look at things like that. But in some of these games where it doesn't mean shit, but these guys are playing for something like Tennessee, yeah, they're probably going to force feed Pollard the ball. And Spears is also hurt.
Yeah.
So that's also, Pollard could be a smash play this week and stuff like that. And J.K. Dobbins, I think, is somebody they're going to try to get the ball to as well. I mean, they don't really have anybody else that's worth this shit right now. So, yeah, there's definitely some things. I mean, you're going to play Cortland Sutton regardless. But, yeah, it's nice if they do get him that bonus. And, you know, you got Mike Evans. They're trying to get him the 1,000 yards. I think he's 80. Did you bring that up in that thing? I think he's 85 yards or something from the 1,000.
Yeah,
and so
it's a $3 million bonus too if he gets 85 more yards. So.
And so yeah, there's all that. So, yeah. But anyway, good luck to you. Waiver wire is going to be fun. Just look at who's hurt and who's available. And a sneaky play for this week could be Blackshear for the Panthers. He's definitely going to get work. If Amir Abdul is out there, he's going to be a pretty decent play for you. He's been pretty damn solid these last few weeks, and he's available in a lot of leagues. So McMillan, if he's out there, he needs to be on a roster. I think he's had 5 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. Yeah. So just a little bit of that. So from there, I guess you want to do top performers first, or you want to roll into fuck that guy first?
We can roll into fuck that guy.
All right. You got the sounder for that?
Yeah, it's right here.
Bruh.
That seems.
I pick a new one every week. It seems like it's like.
Well, part of the reason for that is they're not labeled, so you're trying to remember: is this the one I hit, or is that the one?
Is it this one?
FBI, open up!
I don't know why I like that one so much. But
I don't know. There's so many options.
Oh my God! Who the hell?
Well, I care about some of these.
Yeah,
all right, so I'll run through these real quick. We don't need to spend a lot of time on them because these aren't really championship quarterbacks. These aren't guys that carried you. But if you were somebody who was streaming a quarterback in championship week, as some are tend to do because you like to build up the rest of your roster, these guys,
or you lost Hurts,
lost Hurts.
Kind
yeah,
of Hurts. That was the last second.
Yeah, and so these guys murdered you. Aaron Rodgers, 2.5 points, the worst game statistically by a quarterback. I think ever maybe
until except for last time he did it. We started Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood for a reason.
Well, he moved his happy ass back into Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
He went right back down there.
Caleb Williams, 6.3 points.
Yeah, that's
Geno Smith, 6.6 points. CJ Stroud, 7.1 points. Drake May killed a lot of teams, 8.9 points. And Matthew Stafford, 9.2 points. And I'll add on top of all this, had you somehow, just because you were just had a feeling, played Tyrod Taylor, which nobody did, but had you just put Tyrod Taylor in, he would have outscored all these guys. He put up over 12 fantasy points in a 4-point league. So, in a third of the time as Rodgers did, he threw 2 touchdown passes. So.
I mean, the way Rodgers was playing, I can see it. I can see it.
So those are all the quarterbacks. So to Aaron Rodgers, Caleb Williams, Geno Smith, CJ Stroud, Drake May, and Matt Stafford, we want to say from us here at Just an Average Fantasy Football League to these gentlemen who killed some people on Fantasy Week. Fuck those guys.
I mean, I'm looking at week 1 in 2020. He went 15 for 28 and 2 interceptions and 133 yards.
Who?
Aaron Rodgers.
That's still a better game than the
barely,
one.
Barely. There was another one. There was one that was like absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, that was what Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but it could have been part of the scoring too.
Yeah. So he only paid 18%, so that doesn't count. That one, that was pretty bad, but he played 100% of that game too. I don't know. I was trying to see what week it was that it was.
It might have been 2019.
Atrocious, like
because I think it was when we were still standing up in there. Yeah, and it might have been in our league podcast, not our.
Yeah, not
actual, yeah.
Which I'm pretty certain that.
I think we started that in 2018 or 2019.
Well, in 2020, 2021. I mean 2021. Excuse me. I said 2020, but 2021. Week 1 was against New Orleans. He played 75% of the snaps. Went 15 for 28, 133, and 2 interceptions. So that's the worst I see.
That might have been
it. But
the Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood week.
But there's a lot of other ones. He went 11 for 16 for 140 here, but he did have 2 touchdowns. He had 2 interceptions as well. But if we take the 2 touchdowns away, he would have only scored 1.5 points. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's just terrible. But yeah, how about a couple running backs?
Let's hear it.
Najee Harris. I didn't write the points down. Just know that it sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. All right.
Rico Dowdle. Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
Brian Robinson.
Okay, I didn't have any of those guys.
Tyrone Tracy. These are all guys that a lot of people had on their rosters, and you know. Now Brian Robinson was kind of slipping the last couple of weeks. Tyrone Tracy was dealing with an injury.
Yeah,
you know, blah 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 blah. But Najee's been decent as of late.
He's been solid, and
Dowdle's been pretty decent as of late. I mean,
until he was diarrhea. So these guys were solid, and then they're diarrhea.
And this is all diarrhea. This is a bunch of running backs that just they might have got you there, but they said, you know what, we quit.
Yeah,
and just sucked.
Yeah.
So from us to them.
Yeah, fuck those guys. I want to give a special shout out to a couple running backs. One in particular, Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, you sucked at the end of the season.
Yes.
You sucked through the playoffs. You sucked championship week. I don't know if you're still dealing with an injury because since you come back from your last injury, you have been absolute doo-doo brown town for the most part. And so I just want to say for me personally, because I finished 3rd and 2nd in the leagues that I should have won, and you were a huge part of that. Not just you, but I mean, you were part of the process that caused that. And I'll throw Jaden Reed. He was also part of that process, who also has sucked for the most part over the last few weeks. I think he's had 1 good week in the last 4 or some shit.
Yeah.
But Joe Mixon and Jaden Reed, I just want to say to you guys, from a personal point of my fantasy anger, fuck those guys.
And I guess to finish it up, I've got 2 other running backs that absolutely murdered people this last week.
Yeah.
That are pretty bad. Devon Achane.
Yep, 4.8.
Yeah, and Breece Hall.
Yep, 5.8.
Which, I mean, the Jets as a whole.
Throw in Rachaad White. Just throw Rachaad White in that list, too. Get done with all the running backs.
He's right here, too. Rachaad White. I mean, these guys were these are also people riding, Breece has had some up and down weeks, but Devon Achane has been like money since Tua's been back.
I heard on another podcast today an interesting thing, and I didn't even consider it. And it's true. When Tua's not out there, then they stack the box. And when the defense stacks the box, Devon Achane is not a guy who's going to run through defenders.
Yeah.
He's a get me in space. I'll run past you, around you, but I'm not going to run through you.
Yeah.
And when they aren't worried about the pass, then there's no lanes for Achane
for him to get
and
out. And
So
get open.
and I didn't even consider. I wouldn't have benched him. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I didn't consider that
with Huntley starting.
with the way he had been playing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, to all those guys, to Brees Hall, to Achane, to Rashad White. Was there another one that you said?
No, that was it.
All right, to those three.
Fuck those guys.
All right, I got a couple tight ends I want to throw out there, and this guy's been just blowing ass for most of the season, but we're going to put him on there anyway because he's supposed to be that guy, and he's not that guy. That's Dalton Kincaid. He had 3.4 fantasy points in championship week. And then Tucker Kraft had 6.3. Part of that was, I guess, Musgraves came back and started taking snaps from him, so that's something to be considered. But to Dalton Kincaid and Tucker Kraft in the tight end department, fuck those guys.
And the only other one I had I got two really, I have just one. Jake Ferguson.
I mean, you can throw Benton Strange in just because of what he'd done towards the end, and then he just completely fucking disappeared.
I had him on the list, and I was like, well, you know what? I mean, I kind of thought to sit him. I went and picked somebody up off waivers. I played Dalton Schultz, which still sucked, but I mean, it was better than zero because I know that's what Benton Strange got. So and Jake Ferguson.
Yeah,
I mean, he hasn't done much since he's been back, and he was a dude. And I guess he just needs Dak out there to be viable.
Yeah,
because he's
just don't like him. I guess.
Yeah, it just doesn't work for him. But to those two tight ends, fuck those guys.
All right, I want to hit some wide receivers that we really depended on who absolutely crapped on you. George Pickens came back off injury and said, fuck you, 6.5 fantasy points. DK Metcalf dealing with a ton of injuries. I'm not going to say that, anything bad because I don't want him to kill me. 5.7. Josh Downs, we thought with Flacco coming out there, we're like, heck yeah, Josh Downs is going to eat. Nope. Everybody in the offense ate except Josh Downs.
Yep.
3.7. Cooper Kupp, you're toast, bro. Get on the bus with Aaron Rodgers and ride the fuck off into the sunset. 3.4 fantasy
Be
points.
done.
Speaking of toast and riding in the sunset, D-Hop, 1.7 fantasy points. Terry McLaurin, not toast, not done, but definitely had a bad week. 1 fantasy point.
Yeah, I think he only got 1 target or 2 targets in the game, I believe.
It damn sure wasn't a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And I know he had a couple called back on penalty, too. Odunze, 2 fantasy points. Oof. Zay Flowers, 4.1 fantasy points. And Darnell Mooney, 4.7 fantasy points. So those are guys, except for maybe a Dunze, but most of those guys you've been riding for a large part of the season, and they fucked you on championship week.
Yes.
So to all those football players there, fuck those guys. And that completes my list. You got any more on your list?
The only other one that I don't think I heard you say was Zay Flowers and Keenan Allen.
I got Zay. I didn't have Keenan.
Keenan Allen. I mean, and Keenan Allen's been doing so good the last 4 weeks.
Based off of what he'd done.
And he got you, I think it was like 7 points is all it was, 6.5 something. And it's terrible. You were expecting so much more out of it, and it just didn't happen. So,
yeah.
It's from me to you, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
Fuck that guy.
All right. Well, from there, let's hit on some
toast or roast.
Well, no, we don't. We won't have anything toast or roast. We didn't have a show last week. We didn't give any of our
we never
predictions.
toast or roasted our week before that. Then, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm looking at the wrong numbers. Yeah, fuck them guys.
That week's too old to toast or roast.
That's true.
So.
I'm sitting here looking up and like, wait a second, we didn't do any of this. I need to look at other numbers.
Well, here we'll toast.
Yeah, toast. Hey,
okay, here's a toast.
Toast to us.
All right, we'll go back to here and then
we get roasted. And that's for not having a podcast last week. Fuck them guys. I want to add
Christmas was a little hectic.
I'm gonna add Daniel Hayes and Matt Baker to the fuck that guy list for not doing a podcast.
Those guys.
Yeah. Make sure we hold ourselves accountable, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes, absolutely. It's hard when this is not your sole. Like this is our sole job. Like a lot of these people put out podcasts. If there was our sole means of income, we would absolutely be. There's nothing that can stop us from putting it out there.
Well,
but
if all of our devoted listeners sent us $100,000 each year, we would be here every time they wanted us to be.
Yeah, we would take it that. It would take because we only have like 4.
That's what I'm saying. If we could split $400,000, that'd be $200,000 a piece, and it would go into like labor and everything.
If they would all just send us $50,000, that would be $100,000.
But we got to think of like merchandising, and then we could start promoting.
Yeah. Well, then we could get more loyal listeners in.
Yeah,
you know, and then if
that's
they
true.
all came in and paid 50,000,
Then we could
it'd be
drop
like
it to
a pyramid
Then we
scheme.
could drop it to 40,000, and everybody would still.
Hey, maybe at some point we drop it to $10,000.
Ooh, now we're getting risky.
See,
yeah,
we're here to help you ease the burden that we've placed upon you guys.
keep us on the air. Send us. We're gonna get Sarah McLaughlin to sing us a song, and like all sad, and get y'all to donate 5 cents a day for the rest of your life to our podcast.
Okay, all right. Please help these two podcast hosts.
Because you see, me
Be
and
able
you,
to do podcasts all day.
like, just-
in the arms of the
I push my beard out and
for
kind
the
of
cost of a cup of coffee. You could help these two bearded freaks.
talk fantasy football year round at your disposal.
Yeah,
Oh, that would be gold.
that would be amazing.
I'm on board. I'm fine with it.
I knew a guy who said that Sarah McLaughlin stole a song that he wrote. He claims that the guy literally, this is a way too long a story to flesh out.
I remember that guy.
Yeah, he was a family member was dating a guy who showed up at a family get together on 4th of July and told us all the story about how he wrote that In the Arms of the Angel song, and that Sarah McLaughlin stole it from him. And he was dead ass serious.
Yeah, I do remember that very well. Very well.
God. Anyway, that was I had forgot about that for a hot minute. All right, let's talk about some top performers, some people who did their job and maybe went above and beyond to get us past where they need to be, or kill our hopes and dreams because we played against
them. Yeah.
Which
Number one,
Joe Burrow.
yes, yes.
Joe Burrow I played against in our home league.
Same.
37 fantasy points, 412 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. He also had a rushing touchdown, which should have been Chase Brown's touchdown, but for some inexplicable reason, it looked like Chase Brown pulled up at the 1 yard line and then got tackled and hurt.
Yeah.
And then Joe Burrow got the rushing touchdown. That game, it was insane. Baker Mayfield.
It was an insane game.
34.6 fantasy points, 359 yards, 5 passing touchdowns. Dude is absolutely eating right now.
He's on one.
Yeah.
He's definitely on one.
Drew Lock, you brought it up before the podcast when we were talking about streamers. This is the guy that nobody streamed. 309 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns. They beat the Colts, who were fighting for the playoffs. They essentially destroyed any chance they could of getting the number 1 overall pick in order to keep the Colts out of the playoffs.
Exactly. And I will say that they got the dude. They really do got the dude. And that's part
Malik
of the reason.
Neighbors, we'll be talking about
part
him
of the reason that Drew Lock looks so good out there, man.
He also had a rushing touchdown. Jaden Daniels pulled it together. He had a little lull in the middle of the season, but when it mattered, he showed up. 227 passing yards, 127 rushing yards, 3 passing touchdowns.
That was a super game, too, though.
Yeah.
That was a really good game to watch.
Brock Purdy, 377 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. He got hurt at the end of that game. So, you know.
Got swelling or something.
Yeah. And it always happens. They're not in the playoffs this time, but it's like at the end of the season, and he's about to get paid. So, you know, hopefully it's not anything major, and this dude can get the bag. He also had a rushing touchdown. Lamar just doing Lamar things. 168 passing yards, 87 rushing, 2 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Pat Mahomes, he got pretty hot there towards the end of the season. 320 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Jared Goff, without not even needing to, just went out there and put up 303 yards and 3 touchdowns. Sam Darnold, 377 yards. I think that's a career high for him, and 3 touchdowns. QB 9, QB 10 on the week is Justin Herbert, 281 yards, 3 touchdowns. I almost benched him to play Flacco, and you talked me out of it, and I thank you for that. Even though I didn't win that, I damn sure wouldn't have been in the mix had I played Flacco over him.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Tyler Huntley came in and had a pretty decent week. 225 passing yards, a passing touchdown, and a rushing touchdown. And then, of course, Josh Allen fills out the top 12, 182, 2 and 1. It wasn't he definitely didn't have the big weeks you expected. He was buns last week, and then he was decent this week. So.
And it was pretty much a shutout from the get anyways, so it was one of those where I was surprised they kept him in as long as they did, realistically, because they were up by 3 scores at halftime. So
Yeah.
and then when they sat Aaron Rodgers and made it a little more competitive,
See, Jonathan Taylor had 2 good weeks in a row after dropping that touchdown 3 weeks ago. He had 125 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs, dude is an absolute beast. 117 rushing yards, 46 receiving, and a rushing touchdown that he got at the end of the game. And like I said, killed or lifted tons of people's fantasy hopes and dreams.
or Dynasty or DraftKings.
Yes,
Yeah,
or
best.
DraftKings. Yes, of course. Derrick Henry, 147 rushing yards, a rushing touchdown. The guy's just absolute animal. He's going to get in the playoffs and probably just destroy people. Bijan helped lift me. He lift me. Oh, I'm sorry. 90 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, but he didn't get hardly any work in the second half of the game, and that's what I needed more.
Yeah, that's what
I needed more.
You needed Bijan first half to be Bijan second half.
yeah, or at least half of Bijan's second half.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
One touchdown would have sealed it off.
Yes,
like one
absolutely.
touchdown.
I needed 6 points from him.
Yeah.
So, Bucky Irvin, 113, no touchdowns, but this dude's an animal. 77 receiving. Look, we talked about him before the season started. We talked about him at the beginning of the season. This is somebody that we were looking at, and he's got it.
And
this dude's going to be good as long as he stays healthy. He's going to be good.
As good as Baker keeps staying good too, like keeps being able to put the ball downfield, and that helps take all that pressure off. It makes him wide open.
It's a symbiotic relationship because
really is.
when Bucky does good, it makes it easier for Baker, and when Baker does good, it makes it easier for Bucky.
Exactly.
Their offense is so perfectly balanced right now, and they're out there doing things.
Exactly.
Saquon, 167, two touchdowns. He is 101 yards from the all-time record. There's talks that they may bench him this week for the playoffs. Again, that's why you don't have Week 18 championships, because just imagine the whole season you've been riding Saquon, and then the 1 week you need him the most is like, nah, he's going to be on the bench.
Yeah, like no thanks.
So it's going to be interesting. It's going to I think it's boiled down to how bad Saquon wants that record and how bad he wants to get that record against his former team.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. I think he's going to play, but if he plays and gets hurt, they'll fire that whole coaching staff.
Yeah, right.
Because they have no chance to make the Super Bowl without Saquon Barkley. So Amir Abdullah, like we talked about him earlier, this guy's he's just been solid.
It's crazy they went and got Madison and paid him.
Yeah.
They've had Amir for a while.
Yeah, but I guess he just needed some motivation to be good, or maybe they just don't know when they got something good. Who knows?
He's doing his best. Cordell
because
Patterson
they had Madison and they had Zamir White above him on the depth chart.
Exactly.
He's been better than both of them all. Towards the end of the season, they were a whole season when they were healthy.
He's just doing his best. Cordell Patterson is all it is. Coming in as an old man and letting him know what's going on.
Is that old? Oh, he's 31.
Yeah,
Damn.
he's over 30. He's been with him for like 5 years or something.
Yeah.
I think 4 or 5 years.
He had 115 rushing, 32 receiving. J.K. Dobbins coming off the IR and getting right back out there, 76. Oh, excuse me, and a touchdown. And then Kyron Williams, 56 and a touchdown and 16 yards receiving. Jaylen Warren had a really solid week, 71 rushing, 41 receiving. Isaac Garendo, he was all right. And then James Cook, he was all right. That was your top 12 with the running backs. Those guys didn't kill you. Chase Brown didn't kill you, but they definitely didn't win you the weeks.
Yeah, Chase Brown went out with the injury that, like you said, when he I don't know what that.
It was towards the end of the game, but yeah, I would like to understand why he didn't score that touchdown, but
yeah,
maybe he was confused about if I go down, then we can run the clock. I don't remember. I can't remember exactly how that game ended. But it was just a weird thing. T. Higgins, whoo, man, that guy's good when he's on. 11 receptions, 131 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's a wide receiver one currently, he is a wide receiver one for the week.
Yes.
Malik Neighbors, you were talking about him earlier. This guy is the truth. 7 receptions, 171 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
That after catch, he was just doing stuff that you don't see out of a rookie. Period. No,
he's so fast, and I mean, he goes from 0 to full speed in a split second.
It really is.
He was splitting the defenders. Was like by the time they even knew what was going on, he done blowing past.
He's already turned and gone. Yeah, exactly.
He embarrassed the secondary of the Colts.
Yes.
Devonta Smith, 6 receptions, 120 and 2 touchdowns with a backup quarterback. Him and Kenny Pickett had something going. He is wide receiver 3. Wide receiver 4, Mike Evans, 8 for 97 and 2. Adam Thielen, 5 for 110 and 2. I mean, him and Bryce talking about connected. Those two are connected. It's the lad McConkey. Had 8 receptions, 94 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This dude is good.
He's their future.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely their future.
Speaking of the future, this is going to be when we start talking about it, I'll just give you a precursor. Marvin Mims is one of my top dynasty ads right now. You just got to hope that maybe he fades a little bit next week and into the playoffs so he doesn't stay hot. But it looks like, if you go back and look at the last few weeks, what Marvin Mims has been doing, 2 out of the last 4 weeks that he's played, he's been a wide receiver 1 with a little bit of a lull in between. But they use him everywhere. They hand the ball off to him. They pass the ball to him. He's explosive. He's fast. He was a wide receiver 7 this week, 8 receptions, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ricky Pearsall, he had a bit of a breakout this game, 8 receptions, 141 yards, and a touchdown. He was also explosive, was getting wide open. Jameson Williams, 5 receptions. One of those was a hook and ladder reception. So here's the thing I just don't understand about what the difference between what happened with Josh Allen and why he got it. So he got the catch and the yards for the touchdown. When they threw the ball to Amon-Ra, he caught it and immediately pitched it to Jameson Williams. It was a pure hook and ladder play. And then Jameson Williams took it 42 yards as a touchdown. They gave him a catch. They gave him 42 yards, and they gave him the touchdown. But when Josh Allen did it, they only gave him the touchdown, didn't give him a reception.
Well, they didn't give him the reception, but he still got the yards. He just did. The only thing he didn't get was the reception. So did J-Mo actually get the reception for that?
I don't have
that. Would be the only thing that I would.
It can't. When it came up on Sleeper, Jameson Williams with a 42-yard touchdown pass. So
okay, like I said, I don't know. I didn't pay. I now that you mention it, it was similar whole situation.
Yeah.
But I didn't even think to look to see if he actually got the reception.
The only difference in this play and in the Josh Allen play was, if you look at it, I think it was Amari Cooper who did it. He caught the ball and actually advanced like a yard or so.
He turned up, he got tackled, and then turned back and threw back.
What happened with a true hook and ladder is, as soon as you catch it, you basically catch and pitch.
And just pitch
you don't
back,
you don't hold it. You don't try to get yards. You basically post up the defender, catch it, and then pitch it to a guy who's running full speed. Either way, Jameson Williams caught that ball, and he exploded down the field. This guy claims he can run a 4.140. So I don't know if that's true, but he's damn fast.
He is damn fast.
I mean, to put that in context, the fastest 40 that's ever been clocked in modern times is Xavier Worthy's are in the combine. Xavier Worthy at 4.22. An unofficial hand-clocked 40, Bo Jackson ran a 4.17. That's the fastest. Like, if you look in record books, Bo Jackson is said to have run a 4.17. Now, if you can take this, a hand-clocked one generally is a little bit slower
because
it's the human
controlled
aspect.
by human. Yeah.
So had it been electronic, it could have been quicker at a 4.17. But that wasn't during the combine. I think that was on like a pro day or something. But either way, if he runs a 4.1, that would be unbelievable.
Yes.
Michael Pittman, wide receiver 10 on the week. He had 9 catches, 109 yards and a touchdown. Alec Pierce, 6 catches, 122 yards and a touchdown. He also dropped a long bomb, so it could have been even more. Jalen McMillions, 5 receptions, 51 yards, 2 more touchdowns. Brian Thomas Jr., this dude is right now, him and Neighbors are the 2 best, and McConkey are the 3 best rookie wide receivers come out of last year's class.
Yes.
7 receptions, 91 yards and a touchdown. Olamide Zaccheaus, 8? What was it, 8? Yeah, 8 receptions, 85 yards and a tud. Just talked about him. Xavier Worthy, 8 receptions, 79 yards and a tud. Puka Nacua, this dude just gets buckets, man. 10 receptions, 129 yards. Jalen Naylor, this guy just shows up every so often. 5 receptions, 81 yards and a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown, this is a bit of a down week, to be honest. Had 8 receptions, 60 yards and a tud. Jordan Addison, 6 receptions, 69 nice and a tud. And round out the top 20, Wan'Dale Robinson had 5 receptions, 71 yards and a touchdown. All right, we'll finish out with these tight ends. Trey McBride finally got his touchdown, caught 12 more balls for 123 and a touchdown. Zach Ertz had 6 for 72 and 2 touchdowns. And Kelsey, hey, he showed up when you needed him. If you made it to championship week with Kelsey, then you got a good performance out of him. 8 receptions, 84 yards, and he got a touchdown. He hadn't had one of those in a hot minute. Tyler Conklin, 8 receptions, 57 yards, and a touchdown. Sam Laporta, 6 receptions, 64 yards and a touchdown. George Kittle just staying hot as fire, 8 receptions, 112 yards. Mark Andrews, 2 receptions, 68 yards, but he did get you a touch. Gesicki, 10 for 86, and Kyle Pitts, 4 for 44 to touchdown. And I'll have to admit, that touchdown pass he caught was a pretty boss catch. And around at the top 10, Foster Moreau, 3 for 47 and a tud. So there it is. There's your top performers of the championship week.
And that touchdown to Moreau was like weird because he was like, it almost felt like he was on the sidelines. They snapped and played the play, and he just walked into the end zone and they threw it to him.
Yeah.
Like he was down there and open so quick. It was like, what?
Yeah.
And it was coming from Spencer Rattler. So you know it wasn't going to be a good throw.
Yeah,
But-
that's true. That's true. Well, we're going to be putting together, probably not this week with New Year's and whatnot, but next week we'll be getting together an end of the season show, an awards show. We'll be going back over some of our bold predictions and what we predicted for the season as far as records, some of our hot takes and some of the bets, and kind of do just a wrap up. Going to try to get Larry back in here, Bus, to help us wrap up the season. Maybe drag Terrell out from wherever he's been hiding.
Whatever rock he's under. It's a big rock, but he's under it.
He is the Rock.
Whatever rock is under him, we'll drag him off of it.
But we will be winding down. The official end of the show will
guess
be
we gotta come up with a
after the
Fucky
Super
too,
Bowl.
right?
Oh yeah, that'll be the award show. We got to come up with a Fucky,
and
the MVPs.
yeah.
I mean, I've got
Rookie
nominees.
performers and stuff, yeah.
I've got nominees for the Fucky.
Yeah, same.
So we'll put all that together next week. We'll start that. We'll probably do an award show, and then who knows? We'll figure it out. We're just,
You know how we do, just average.
yeah, we're just average. So we'll
all it is.
figure it out on game day generally.
Yeah, right? When we sit down for the podcast, we'll put it all together.
But I hope you guys had a good fantasy season out there. I hope you guys won your championships, and I hope that y'all stick with us, as we finish out the season. I know a lot of people fade away now. They don't have anything to play for. If we get into this off-season fantasy league, that's going to be interesting to see how that's done and be a part of that. So I'm sure we'll be talking about that. We'll definitely be talking about the playoffs. We'll be doing some dynasty stuff, kind of early dynasty stuff that we're going to put together for anybody's interested in that. And then once the season's over, then we'll take a little bit of break until we get closer to the draft, maybe around free agency, depending on how crazy that gets.
Yeah.
And then we'll show back up and kick it off again. So until we hit you guys back up next week, if anything we say or do helps you get to that average place in your league, then we did our job. Because if you finish average,
You don't lose.
you don't finish last.
That's true.
So-
Well, you might lose. I guess that's true.
You're going to lose, but you're going to lose as much as you win.
Exactly.
So you'll be as happy as you are sad.
As you are sad,
Yes.
yes.
So hope you guys have a good celebration fantasy week for all you playing week 18. Good luck with playing backups. Hope that you
Yes.
can change those rules before next season. Other than that, y'all be good, and we shall talk to you next time we talk to you.
Yeah, talk to you next year.
Holla.